Welcome back to Grid Drop. Today, we're going to help you get faster around one of Formula One's best tracks of the season, Brazil. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave any feedback or questions in the comments section, or my Discord, which is linked in the description. That being said, let's get right into it. This video will be broken down into 5 sections. Car setup, Sector 1, Sector 2, Sector 3, and finally, a full lap. These sections are all equally important, so stay tuned to the end of the video if you really want to improve. So here's the setup I run in Brazil. Feel free to pause the video and screenshot this if you want to try out this setup on your own. This setup prioritizes front-end responsiveness while ensuring rear stability when exiting corners. As a disclaimer, this setup is a general baseline for you to start with and applies to both hot laps and a race. I recommend doing a few laps with this setup and tweaking it to fit your own style. Into the first corner of the lap, stick to the right side of the track and watch for the meter boards on the right. You want to brake exactly at the 50 meter board, and this is a very hard jam of the brakes, and you want to shift down to 3rd gear. Make sure to bleed off the brakes quickly though, as you start turning into the corner pretty soon. Aim to cut close to this inside curb, but try not to cut it too much. If you take too much curb here, it could spin you out. On the curb now, get back on the power and ride it down the hill for a second, before sharply adjusting your steering to the right. You should aim to cut as much of this curb as the track limits will allow. Once off the curb, you should be at full throttle. Your car will naturally sway to the left side of the track, and you can ride this curb as well. Now, follow the curb and let the car naturally drift to the right side of the track, where the DRS zone begins. Enable DRS, fly up the gears, and head down the straight. Sector 1 was pretty quick, now let's see it at full speed. The first corner of Sector 2 is a fast left-hander, so stick to the right side of the track. Again, watch for the meter boards here. You want to brake at exactly 100 meters. This is a hard jam of the brakes and shifting down to 4th gear. Immediately turn into the corner and keep your attention on the apex here. This is a narrow corner and doesn't have too much room to play with on exit, so keeping tight to the inside curb is crucial here. On the curb, start increasing the power. It's best to avoid any kind of coasting throughout the lap. Always transition right from braking to putting the power down. Sway out wide and use some of this exit curb on the right to extend the track. Pull back into the left now and try to make the straightest line through this bend. Swaying to the right side of the track now, you can use some of this curb on the right, but it's not super necessary. Up the hill now, switch to the left side of the track and prepare for an even faster right-hander. There's not much of a braking point here, just turn in after the 50 meter board, aim to stick close to this first inside curb, and you want a quick tap of the brakes and one downshift. This should give you enough speed and stability to effectively get through the corner. As the curb fades away, you'll be in the middle of the track, and as the next curb approaches, you want to pull back in towards that one. As the second curb now fades away, sway to the left side of the track and prepare to brake. There aren't any standout reference points on track to use for braking here, so I like to just eyeball the corner. You should be braking just a split second after you reach this curb. This is a tricky braking zone. It's a full jam of the brakes, but bleed off of them very quickly, as locking the front right wheel here is very common. After bleeding off the brakes and shifting down to 2nd gear, pull into the corner and aim to cut as much of this inside curb as possible. This sets you up better for the next corner. At mid-corner, start getting back on the power, but you'll have to quickly brake once you reach this inside curb. This is a very slight application of the brakes, but it's needed to keep a tight line to the curb. Once you reach the bottom of this hill, start getting back on the power, keeping tight to the curb still. As the curb fades away and the hill gets more steep, naturally sway to the right side of the track to keep a flowing line. On the right curb now, prepare for a very similar corner to that slow right-hander. Let the car naturally sway to the left, but try to enter the braking zone in a straight line so you can avoid locking up. There aren't too many obvious points for braking, but I like to brake just after where this curb on the right begins. This is generally a good point to memorize. Under braking now, bleed off the brakes quickly to avoid that front right lockup and shift down to 2nd gear. Rotate the car into the corner, and again, try to take some of the inside curb, but not too much as this one can be a little bit bumpy. At mid-corner, start getting back on the power, but be cautious not to spike the throttle and spin. Smooth, controlled throttle is key here. Now, start going up the gears as you follow the inside curb down the hill. That's a run-through of Sector 2, now let's see it at full speed. Sector 3 is pretty short. After heading down the hill, sway to the right side of the track and prepare for the next corner. This is a medium speed left, but an uphill braking zone, so you can brake pretty late. There aren't any good reference points for braking, but it's best to brake about 2 car lengths beyond where this curb on the right ends. This is a very hard jam of the brake, shifting down to third, and trying to cut as close to this inside curb as you can. This curb is a bit bumpy, however not too dangerous. Generally, I like to stay off of it, but it isn't super necessary to avoid this one. At mid-corner, get back on the power and use as much of this exit curb as possible. This is a pretty narrow corner exit, so extending the track is important. Now, it's smooth sailing the rest of the lap. Start going up through the gears and just have a simple, flowing line through this fast left-hand bend on the track. Enable DRS towards the bottom of the hill, and take a straight line to the finish. That's a look at Sector 3, now let's see it at full speed. Now let's take a look at a full lap. So there you have it, a full lap of Brazil broken down corner by corner and sector by sector. If you want to see more track guides on F124, have any questions, or need more tips, feel free to leave a comment on this video or my Discord. Anyway, if you made it this far, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.